Hello, welcome. It's Trisha here from Author Heroes, and this is the Fast Track Author course. This is lesson one, where we'll be talking about writing your book. Within this course, you'll find a mixture of both video and written content. Please go through both because they will help you complete the course and complete writing your book successfully. The course has been set up to go through a number of steps in order. If you want to go through and watch all the videos and read through everything first, that's a great idea. And then you can come back and start at number one. Okay, before you write your book, I want to get your mindset in the right place because this will make a big difference to you feeling confident and able to complete your book successfully. I have 5 tips that I use all the time for myself, and I also share with my clients and people that I speak to that would like to write a book. The first one is don't overthink it. It's really easy to get in that state of paralysis analysis, and we're thinking too many things about the book that we want to write, and we never actually end up writing anything at all. It's not difficult to write a book, especially if you've got a plan and an outline, and everything you need for writing your first book is included in this course. So don't overthink it. You might come across some of the lessons and think that was really simple, that was really straightforward. Well, that's the way it's designed to be. It's not designed to be complicated. In the old days, when you used to write books and go through a publisher, it was very, very difficult. But now there has been so many advances, and Amazon has made it really a lot easier for people to self-publish their content. So please don't worry. Just don't overthink it. Just make the most of this opportunity and go through and just complete the activities as you see them. The second point is always start with a book plan and an outline. In the resources tab of this course, there's a ton of great templates and tools that you can use to write your book. Please go through those and take a look. They will save you so much time and make your writing your book so much easier. A book plan is where you brain dump all your ideas onto a couple of sheets of paper. You can either do it as a plan where you write it out, or you can do a mind map. A book outline is where you take all those ideas and you condense them into a outline template, and that's also included, and you form your chapters with key bullet points. So the book plan is your brain dump, and the book outline is the skeleton of your book. Please do this before you actually think about writing your book. The next tip I have for you is to focus on one core idea for your book. It's really easy to get caught up in the idea of giving as much as possible in your first book to your reader. Whilst that's really considerate and generous of you, it's also really overwhelming for the reader. Focus on one core topic and go deep with that topic so your reader can learn a lot about it. When you're trying to put too many things in, it becomes really complicated. And when the reader finishes reading the book and someone asks them what it was like, and they go, "Oh, it was a book about finance, it was a book about health," but they can't really remember or figure out what it is that you actually do. So, one core message, one book. If you have lots of good ideas and lots of good messages, then create sequential books. But just keep one book, one idea. The book doesn't need to be very long. If you are able to share your idea and show them how to follow your method in a short book of 5,000 or 10,000 words, that is totally fine. If you need to do that in 30,000, 50, or 100,000 words, that is fine as well. Cut out the filler and the fluff and just stick to the core message and give them as much value as you can and go really deep on the topic. Number four, be flexible but don't procrastinate. Now, when you're writing a book, or actually when you're writing any content, when we're not used to writing, writing is like exercise. You do it a lot and it becomes easier for you. We will put a lot of effort, emotion, and energy into writing something, and then we'll look back at it and go, "Oh, that's just not really good." And that happens a lot. But be flexible and let it go. Give yourself permission to cross it out and go, "You know what? That's not what I'm going to use on for this piece of content or this book." You might be able to use it somewhere else. All I want to say to you is emphasize on be flexible, be kind to yourself, give yourself permission to let go of something if it doesn't feel right. Trust your gut instinct because you'll know best. But don't use it as an excuse to procrastinate to never finish your book. And the last tip I have for you is to write for your reader, not for yourself. So don't make any assumptions about what your reader knows or what information they have available. Make sure you give them the context around what it is that you're showing or teaching them, the concepts and the methodology that you want to share, and also the content, which is a storyline to take you there. So, in wrapping that up, when you're writing for your reader, you're writing for them to understand what you do and be able to take something away from it and remember what it is. They come into that book with no expectations and no idea about who you are. You need to lay down the groundwork and give them that story so they can follow you and understand the value that you're delivering. About your book. Now, in lesson one, there is some content there I'd love you to go through and read. And I go into this in a bit more detail about why are you writing a book, because that will make a big difference to the way that you approach writing a book. So if you're writing a book as an expert book to get more leads, don't pitch or sell through the book. Make the last section of your book the pitch and the offer, but don't do that throughout the book. If you're writing a book to become more well known or famous, then talk about your ideas in a lot of detail, and you don't need to make any pitch at all. You may suggest a connection or that you're available for public speaking at the end of your book. You're writing a non-fiction expert book, so this is not a novel. This is not um, a exciting thriller or a book by Stephen King with hundreds of pages. This is a simple expert book which talks about who you are, the problem you solve, the people that you help, the method that you use, that one core message, how they can follow your method. So you need to tell them how you do what you do, and they can do it for themselves. Share some case studies, and then invite them into your world if that's what you want to do, if you want to work with them. The next part is the book length. We touched on that a little bit earlier. Your book doesn't need to be super long or super short. It needs to be as long as it needs to be in order to cover the amount of content that gets the message to your reader. Now, I have read some excellent books that are only 5,000 words long, and I have read some brilliant books that are 100,000 and 200,000 words long. Respect your reader's time and attention and make your book on point. Take out any filler fluff and remove that content. The only section of your book that I would go into a lot of extra detail, or I would particularly use a lot of words for, would be the case studies and the methodology. And that's usually in the middle of your book and the last part of your book. And then the last thing is the anatomy of your book. So I'm going to show you what a book looks like and what's included in a book. And these are the sections that you'll go through when you're putting your book together. As you are looking at the screen, there will be a number of images here that I'll be sharing with you. And these are all images from the templates that are provided for your use to write your book in this course. So let's take a look at this anatomy. So on this screen, we have three images. On the left-hand side, we have the 90-day authority blueprint. The second image is the inside cover. And the third image is the table of contents. Now, this is a book template. It's available in the resources section. Once you finish doing the rough outline of your book and you're starting to put it together, you'll use this template to create your book. The sections that make up a book are as follows. From the outside to the inside, you have the front cover, the title, subtitle, image, text, book title, book subtitle, the author name, the inside cover, the ISBN number, the printed by or publisher name, the dedication, table of contents, forward, preface, what this book is about, and that's a note from yourself as the author, the chapters, and we have broken this into 5 sections. This is exactly the same formula that we have developed in-house here at Author Heroes when we are ghostwriting for our clients, and this works really well. So part 1 is the introduction, part 2 is the journey, part 3 is the solution and the method, that you use. Part 4 are the results. These are the case studies. Part 5 is work with me. This is the invitation. Now, all of those can have anything one, two, three, or 5 chapters, as many chapters as you need to help articulate the message in a nice, clear, easy to understand way. On the back cover, we have the book description, any testimonials you may want to share, an author bio, an author photo, the website link, a barcode, which is put in there by Amazon automatically, an ISBN number, which is also provided by Amazon, and an image that's totally optional. The image would be some sort of background image. Now, there are different types of book and different genres of books. When we're looking at expert books, typically the only images that you would have would be of the author on the back cover and maybe some sort of vector image, solid image. We don't really look at having photos or flowery images on a book, unless, of course, your book is about flowers or maybe your book is a diet book for keto. If that's the case, then you may have a very detailed image on your book because that would be relevant. But normally, we don't have that sort of detail. Later in this course, it's lesson 5 will cover the book design, and I've provided a sample list of book covers that you can play around with, plus also a sample of existing best-selling book covers that you can have a look at. When you're ready to write your book, this is the formula we're going to use. I spent a lot of time trying to think how to summarize everything into the smallest amount of easy to digest information so you could get your head around this and write your book with complete confidence and have an excellent book at the end. And this is what it comes down to. This is exactly what you need to write. How big you make this is totally up to you. Now, if your book ends up being less than when it's prepared by the freelancer for printing, if it's less than 100 pages, it may not be good to print. 100 pages might only be 10 to 15,000 words. You can make a decision then, but you can either publish it as Kindle or print paperback or both. This is exactly what you need to write. On the inside cover, you write the information about the book, the author, the dedication, the table of contents, etc., as I showed you earlier. Part 1, this is the introduction. This is what the book is about. Call this your executive summary. I find it easiest to write this last. You could write a couple of points there, but I would probably come back to it at the end once you've written the rest of the book, and then you can summarize it. Part 2 is the journey. Talk a lot about where you started before you found the solution. You obviously had a problem, and then perhaps you realized this is a problem and you went to study in your area of expertise because you really found that fascinating. Talk about that, or talk about the problem that you faced, you overcame, and then now you teach people how to overcome that problem as well. So, this is the backstory. But don't go into your childhood problems or any marriage problems. People don't want to read your whole life drama. They just want to know about this particular problem that is it relevant to them, and are you able to help them? It's always a good idea if you do have, other than yourself as an example, a case study to include here, or someone you want to focus on as a subject in the book. It's a great way to get started with that. So, part 2 is the journey, and then that's where you're identifying the problem and the solution. Part 3 is the solution and the method. So, this is where you would talk to them about the solution in detail. You talk about the things that you've tried that didn't work, the things that did work, the method that you applied to get the best results. And then, this is really, really important, you need to explain the method that you use to achieve the results that you're talking about and how the reader can use that same method, whether they try that at home or whether they come to you. Do not be afraid to give away your secrets. You don't need to give them your internal manual on how to copyright a a document if that's your secret source, but you need to tell them about how you go about it, what's your process. This is especially important if you want to get leads from your book or you want to be seen as an expert in your niche. People are looking to you to find out what you know and how you go about it, and do they like you? And when they read this, are you someone that they feel that they would get along with and they would want to work with? The biggest mistake I've seen with authors is that they hold back and they don't want to share the secret sauce. There's no secrets out there. Everybody knows everything. Someone's already done what you did. They probably do it really well, and there's probably 500 videos on YouTube. So don't freak out. Write your best secrets in here. Share it with your readers, and they will get a lot of benefit. Give them at least 2 to 3 quick wins. So give them 2 to 3 things that they can do for themselves right now to get a good outcome. By doing this, by going through this process, you are naturally selling who you are and the program that you're offering. And it is so, so valuable. Number 4, this is where we talk about the results. So let's just quickly recap. Number 1 was the introduction. Number 2 was the journey. Number 3 was the solution and the method. And number 4 is the results. This is really important. All the parts are really important, but your reader has just gone through the book and got to this part, and they're thinking, I wonder if there's anybody in this book, this person has worked with, that's like me. Do you have anybody like me? Have you helped anybody with my problems? I'm special, I'm unique. And this is where you bring in case studies into your book. Now, if you can get 5 case studies and you can go into detail about each of those people, you can change the names for privacy reasons. But if you can get 5 case studies, that's great. Bonus points if you can get 10 case studies. Get 10 case studies where you go into detail gives the reader an opportunity to say, hey, I'm like the third person, Mary. That is like me. That's my problem. This coach is the best person I need to work with. They're going to help me out. I want to be with them. So provide a lot of case studies and help them identify with one of those characters in that section. Number 5, reframe an invitation. So this is also really important. I said the others are important. They're all important, but this is important. This is where you go back through your book, highlight the key points that were really um, stand out. So if you made a promise in the book, how to lose X amount of kilos in 30 days, or how to save your marriage without going to a counselor, whatever the promises that you made in your book, and then you answered those promises, you gave them a solution. This is where you go back and you do a quick summary check on each of those. Now, in this section, you would say in chapter 2, we talked about how to save your marriage from doomsday, for example, if you're a marriage counselor. And then in this section, we would say, we referred to in chapter 2, we talked about how to save your marriage from this doomsday. This is how we overcame it in chapter 3. So what you're doing is you're re-pointing out the value that you provided and you delivered. You're doing it in really short points. I'll actually provide a sample to you of one of my own books where I've done this to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, and hopefully it'll make sense to you. The invitation is an invitation to work with you if you want to use your book to generate leads, or you're using this book to give to prospects who have come to watch a webinar, or perhaps you're talking to them, or people coming into your clinic or your salon. This is where you give them an invitation to come back and work with you. How do you want to work with them? Initially, do you want the call to action to be to download some resources and get them on your email list? Or do you want to send them to a page on your website? Or are you looking to connect with them professionally on a platform like LinkedIn? Whatever your method is, this is where you would include it. And you can include some information also about the program that you're offering. Um, if you are interested in expanding your online profile and becoming famous or well known for what you do, in this section you would talk about who you are and the types of things that you're involved with, whether you're in special charity events or whether you're involved in, business meetups, how they can connect with you if you run workshops or seminars, or even if you're a paid guest speaker, how can they engage with you and hire you? This is the sort of information that you can include in the last section of your book. We also like to include acknowledgements to anyone in particular for this book, whether it be personal friends or family, or whether it be business acquaintances or even the reader themselves. And we like to include a section about the author. About the author should be no more than a couple of paragraphs, just really short, but written in the third person, which means you don't write it in your own first tense. So I wouldn't write, "Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm an author and I'm a content creator and I like organic gardening and I have a dog. Her name is Piper." You wouldn't write like that. You would write it the third person, which is Trisha is an author from Australia. She has a family and specializes in writing books and blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that you want to write, you have it written in the third person. If you struggle with that, perhaps have a chat to a friend and ask them to write that for you. It's like writing a recommendation or a testimonial for someone. Okay, so we'll just quickly run through this. It is included in the course notes. You can get some more information and you'll be able to see this in the written part of lesson 1. We're just talking about the introduction, and this is where you call out in the book who this book is for, the problem, solution, the journey, the heroine, that this is the hero or the character that you want to make as the main person throughout the book, and perhaps 2 to 3 case studies. Part 2, we talk about the journey. This is how you discovered the problem and the solution. Definitely include the good and the bad bits. Don't leave out the bad bits. People will find it more trusting and more authentic if you tell them the good and the bad. If you only say good things, they may start to question it. So definitely include the good and the bad because they definitely want to avoid the bad problems. So if you tell them how you went on this journey to find a solution for the problem that you're now solving for people, but you tried 5 different things before you got to the right answer, they will know not to try those 5 things that you failed at. It's really, really good. It's character building and people love reading about the good and the bad. Part 3, the solution and the method. In this section of the book, I'd like you to introduce the solution and the method to achieve the desired result and go deep in detail. This is where you demonstrate your expertise, knowledge, and credibility in the topic. This is the part where you establish yourself as the expert, as the leader in your field, as the go to person for what you do. In order to do this, there's 2 things. First, you talk about the method or the solution that you have. So you go into detail about how that solution is and what it means and why you've chosen to go this way, etc., etc. And then the next step is you give the DIY version to the reader. Now that you've told them the best way to save your marriage is to do XYZ on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, then in the book you give them the second part, the DIY. On Mondays, always make a date night. And these are some five things that you can do on date night and give them some ideas, give them some quick wins, make it really easy for them to enjoy and appreciate and take value from what you're sharing. That will count so much towards building that trust and relationship with you. So if they do want to work with you, it's no longer a question of maybe, it's a question of are you available? I'd love to work with you. And hopefully you like them and you say yes. Win-win. Part 4, the results. This is where we talk about the results you've achieved for other clients using this method. Include any specific lessons you've learned during the process. Share the results, the good and the bad. Talk about the lessons that you have learned and applied and the case studies before, during, after. Everybody loves a before and after. I must admit myself, I'm quite addicted to them. I love everything for before and after, from renovating houses to hearing about people and how they overcame a big problem in their life. And just like every other reader, they enjoy the same too. So give the before, the during and the after. So the before is you talk about this person, Sally, she had this problem. This is what was happening in her life. This is the impact. This is the troubles that she was going to, and everything she had tried. She went to her doctor, she went to a naturopath, and she went to all these different people, and nobody really understood her. And then she met you. And then when she came to see you, you were a bit different. You were a holistic doctor, but you also had the medicine and science background, and you looked at things from also using a little bit of Eastern medicine. I'm just making this up for an example. So, this case study, this person, Sally, she comes to you after trying everything. She's really tired and exhausted, and she hasn't got any results from anything. And she's kind of, like, feeling a little bit hopeless. She comes to you, and you take a different look, and then you give her another way to approach her problem, something she hasn't tried, and she tries it, and then and very quickly she's starting to see some improvement. And then you talk about the journey she went on while she was trying this with you, and she's learning, and then the results and how her life had changed and how much happier she's feeling. And bonus points if you can get a short testimonial from that client. You have a case study and insert it straight after the case study. That would be awesome. It's always nice to read what someone has written about you, to include that in a book. Part 5. Now, this is the invitation to work with you, the call to action. As I mentioned earlier, there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can include a link to book a call with you. You can include a link to your website to find out more. You can include a link to your website to download some resources. If you are kind of a non-committal person and you're not really sure what's going to be happening in your life in 5 years' time, you're making the book today, why don't you just include a link to your LinkedIn? That's a really easy one to maintain. LinkedIn is going to be around for quite a long time, and it doesn't cost you anything to maintain it. LinkedIn's an easy one. This is where you write about how they can work with you, and you give them a little bit of a personal story about who you are as well. Okay, that's the end of lesson 1. I hope you found it really helpful. I'm going to finish up here and come back to you with another lesson. And in the next one, we're going to talk about writing tools and templates. Thank you very much.